Gr- Man, I messed that one up. Let's try that again. All right, hold on. Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtrothi, and today we are talking about me. It is the 2K subscriber AMA. This is an opportunity to say thank you to all of you who have gone over to my YouTube and subscribed and liked it and posted comments to help get to this point. I know it's very traditional for, like, at certain milestones to do these kinds of things for YouTubers, and I kind of want to, you know, pretend like I'm a real boy too. So we didn't get one for the 1K, so I figured we'd do one for the 2K. So I put up a post a few weeks ago asking for questions. We've got a few, and I'm going to go into them. But first, I want to say thank you all for being here, both live and on the YouTube archive. Please make sure that if you enjoy what you're seeing here, to follow and or subscribe to both channels, depending on which one you feel like doing. It is very appreciative, all of the support and checking it out. So, but without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the first question, which is Kuyo says, could ISK and or PLEX feasibly become a publicly listed blockchain token? I'm going to be right back and get a glass of wine. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, could it? Absolutely. Why not? But here's the thing about blockchain. Effectively, the only thing that blockchain does over a traditional database system is it makes it so that the controller of the database is distributed and not the initial source, right? So the only reason why blockchain is at all important, period, at all in gaming, is so that way the game company can make you feel like you own the thing a little bit more than if they just say that you do. In essence, it doesn't make you own the thing anymore because they still decide whether or not that token is valid and what it means in their universe. And it's completely unnecessary. So, because they could just as easily have a record in a database and authenticate it, because we've done that before, even if you wanted to do real money transactions or whatever. So, is it possible? Sure. Would you want to? No. Next. In this day and age, can an alpha clone still grind for Plex and obtain Omega status? How long would this take? It really depends on what you mean by grinding. The answer is yes. It's very, I mean, like, on a long enough timeline, it has to be yes, right? Because the alpha has no cost. Therefore, anything that you make, any ISK that you make, is just working towards that process of getting your Omega. There are definitely activities that alphas can do that can get Omega relatively quickly. On average, even an experienced player that's just grinding on normal basic stuff, level 3 Abyss or tier 4 missions or level 4 missions or nullsec ratting, subcapital, whatever. I like to say it's 1 million ISK per minute, which is 60 million. You could theoretically, if you're really like active about it, you do something like incursions or something a little bit fancier, you could probably get away with up to 100 million ISK per minute per hour, which, I mean, that's still pretty aggressive of a stature, but you could definitely earn enough to Plex your account within a month or two. If you use your skill points, you know what you're going to be earning your money on, and you hit it hard. If you just simply go with your venture and mine Veldspar, or go down the normal level mission track, you probably won't be able to get, it'll probably take you a while. But at the same time, that kind of activity doesn't require Omega so much. And so I recommend to people like that to enjoy your time as an alpha. Use it to become aggressive, take bold actions, take risks, because that's really how you're going to get your billion, is having a risk or something like that, a scheme of yours pay off, right? So that is an option. I do strongly recommend for everyone in the game as a new player to get into both the market and the abyss. The market, the more time you focus on paying attention to the market, what's there, what's not there, what's selling, what isn't selling, etc., that will help you understand the game, because the market is a reflection of player activity. You will learn a lot about the game just by exploring the things that we trade in. And then on the other hand, the other thing I recommend is the abyss. The abyss will teach you to be able to pilot. With those two things under your belt, you can basically take on anything in this game. So, alpha or omega. Good question, though. Next, is my alt better off to pursue good standings with an opposing faction or an ally? I don't actually know what that question means. So, basically, if you mean like, should I have one faction go, one of my characters go positive Caldari, one person go positive Galente for like mission running? Not overly necessary. In fact, I would advise you to try not to tank your standings with any of the Empire factions for any of your characters. It gets super inconvenient. If you're talking about Edencom and Triglavian, only if you want to, I recommend going to Poachfin and getting positive standings with both rather than having to worry about one or the other. If you're meaning like players, hell yeah, spy away. All right. Good questions, though, like I said. Next, from Pow Dungeon. Why do you bank all your skill points? I saw nearly 9 million banked on this stream. I use mine as soon as I get them. Great question. So regardless of how many skill points you have, I get people asking me, hey, Ash, I just got my 1,000,000 skill points. What do I spend it on? And I like to say that do not spend unallocated skill points until you know exactly what it is that you want to use them on. In other words, there will come a day, probably, sooner rather than later, in which you will want to do something, and the only thing that's barring you from being able to do it is skills. And on that day, you're going to wish that you had those skill points. And the fact that you train something else a little bit faster isn't going to really impact you on a day-to-day world. Therefore, I save every skill point that I can in a giant pile. So that way, like, when I suddenly needed to fly an orca and realized that I was missing a bunch of some of this industry command skills to be able to fly the orca, I was able to instantly be able to do that, right? I could there are things that my character's not trained in right now, some capitals, obviously some super capitals and other things. And I never know when something's going to need that, but I don't have a good use for them at this exact moment, and therefore I keep them. Tyler asks, if budget wasn't an obstacle, what kind of game would you want to make? Yeah. So I am I dabble in game development, but my kind of magnum opus that I'm kicking around is a game. One of the things that I get frustrated with is that, like, when it comes to core fantasies, there's one that I feel is misrepresented or underrepresented and misrepresented. So, like, if you want to be a warrior, there are plenty of games that'll let you be aggressive and show your physical strength over everybody else. If you want to be a rogue, there are plenty of games that let you be stealthy, reward you for being stealthy, let you feel sneaky or whatever. Even if you want to be a paladin, there are games that will reward you for your righteousness and good deeds. But as far as the core fantasy of being a wizard goes, the core fantasy of a wizard being, you understand, so much more about the universe. You understand the very hacks of the universe. You've delved into things deeper and further than the normal people are willing or capable of going. And this has allowed you the knowledge to use the universe in a way that others can't. And so I want to make a game in which you get to be the town wizard. So you support the local townsfolk. You support the local adventurers with potions and whatnot. You break down their rusty daggers and transmute the metals into other things. And it's a game. In the game, the entire magical system is non-random. So when you make when you brew a health potion, it doesn't do 1d8 plus 1 hit points. It does 7. And the reason why it does 7 is because you brewed it at this time of day with this stuff, with this much, with these energies in the aura, et cetera, et cetera. And so, and each of those factors have aspects to them. And so the more you understand the universe, the more you understand how things work, the more you can improve upon recipes and make stronger and better stuff. I really like that idea, kind of playing on the notion of almost like a Stardew Valley, but rather than a farmer, have it be you're growing things so that way you can use them to create potions and other stuff like that, and you're cavorting with various different supernatural entities, etc. That's the game that I really want to make. Next. Oh, thank you, Tyler. Or Valamir. Next is Yintan, friend of the show. Great. We just did an interview with him. What abandoned plotline in Eve do you hope gets picked up one day? The easy answer to that, of course, is the Drifter Hives, right? Specifically the bread. I think that's what everyone's kind of poking at with a stick and going hey, do something. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, if I could think of a more clever answer than that. I'm going to say it. I think that while everybody else is waiting for their space bread to mean something, I still am curious as to what's going to happen or what should happen with the Svarog's encrypted semiosis consoles. And what's the deal with Krezhnik Svarog? That's kind of what I would like to move forward on, I guess. All right. Riley asks... Oh, thank you, Yintan. I'm so bad at thanking people for their questions, I guess. All right, Riley asks, how many questions can I ask? Well, I guess the answer is 6. 6. All right. To start off, though, if you had to add one new ship class to Eve, what would it be and why? I thought I had an answer for this, but now I can't think about it. So I want another kind of battleship, preferably like a T2 battleship. But I really want to see a Voltron type ship in which multiple battleships siege into place and then they link together somehow to do extra effectiveness. Other than that, I would rather ask for us to rework the assault frigates, or rather the assault damage control, to go to what I suggested originally, which is rather than being a big resistance buff, which I think is kind of boring, I'd like to see it to be a big E-War resistance buff. Next. Question number 2. It's actually question 3. Now that we have a precedent for crossovers, what IP would you have Eve crossover with and next? The answer is Stargate. I don't care how you have to justify it. I don't care what you mean. I don't care what the story is. Stargate. No. I'm trying to think if there'd be anything else. No, I think pretty much Stargate. Battlestar Galactica might be fun. I wouldn't mind an Algos or version, or a some sort of Battlestar Galactica ship that could be gotten. Yeah. Question number 3/4. How would you feel if CCP created new methods monetized or not, to acquire faction Fortizars? Well, so it depends. If they are the same as the old faction Fortizars, then I would have a big problem with that. Or at least I would have to do some homework. I believe when they did that change, they said that this would be the only source of faction Fortizars. That said, yeah, I want a Cylon, like an executioner or a slasher skin that makes me look like Scar. Either way. So I'm pretty sure that that's true. So I would suggest a new kind of faction Fortizar, or better yet, I mean, there's other room, right? There's faction Asbels, faction Tataras, faction Astrahuses, you know. Monetized or not, I don't know. I think having a faction Fortizar that you pay money for would be the single worst idea ever in the history of EVE Online. And not for CCP, mind you. For anyone who chooses to buy and anchor that thing. Holy crap. All right. Next. Question 4/5. Is there one location in EVE lore that you could choose to get in-game what? Oh. Like what location that's described in the lore would like what that I'd like to visit, I'm assuming. They've put in quite a few. The problem is that, like, I could say, oh, Mithra's Gate, but who knows? Maybe Mithra's Gate already in the game? No. But let me think. I'm going to be cheeky and say Bouillon. All right, next. Bobby Moore. Thank you, by the way, for all your questions, Riley. Awesome. I have to go back to everybody. Bobby Moore, why are you still playing EVE? I ask because of what CCP has done to the game in the last 2.5 years. You answered your own question, man. Like, not everybody doesn't like the changes that have happened. There's a lot of people that have been down with a lot of the stuff that has gone on. Now, granted, there's a lot of people, like, even the people that are down with a lot of the stuff that's gone on still have their complaints about certain things, obviously. But like, the actual gameplay of EVE is almost better. It is pretty much better than it ever has been before. Like, if your existence in EVE is absolutely reliant on other people, then yes, this is a bad time. This is a chaotic time for EVE. If for no other reason that other people are having, such consternation, and therefore your friends are quitting and all these other things. But if your world is more centered on understanding and mastery of the universe itself and exploring it, then it's a pretty exciting time, to be honest. Do you think that CCP cares about how bad they're making EVE? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're totally concerned with it. But the thing is that, like, as I've said many, many times, a lot of the negative things that we saw in scarcity, etc., were a treatment for a problem, right? Chemotherapy hurts the patient quite a bit. I'm just really hoping... Basically, a lot is riding on next FanFest, as we've talked about before. Are you having a hard time replacing what you lose? Because I cannot afford to replace any ship. No. Subcapital ships have gotten cheaper, T1. It really depends on what it is that you're trying to replace, and what it is that you're losing, and what it is that you're doing. I would suggest that you solve one of those problems, and if you need more advice, I can maybe help untangle it, but there are definitely ways to be able to replace what you lose. You can either increase your income or reduce your risk. If you want to be able to fight and not You want to be able to fight and replace what you lose? Faction warfare is a great example, right? So, all right. Thank you, Bobby. And then my final question, of course, I saw your channel on YouTube and I like it very much. I would like to invite you to promote a video about our software features and pay you. Are you interested? Sure. If you're, go ahead and email me at ashrothi@gmail.com. No. That I just figured it was worth going over. So yeah, that's just a quick little thing. Wanted to go over some questions and answer them for my 2K sub. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure before you leave to, like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And more importantly, if you like what I do, maybe not this video, but find some other video that you've liked of mine and share it with courtmates. Because I think that in this age in which there's so many different voices trying to command attention for what Eve is, it is so meaningful for you to give something, give one of these videos to your courtmates with your endorsement, right? I think that would mean a lot to him or them, and it would definitely mean a lot to me. So, but besides all that, I've been Ashrothi, and until next time, I'll see you in space.